Okay, I got my walking foot back on my machine. It's ready to go, and we are ready to go ahead and stitch this line around. We'll go ahead and change back to straight stitch. Normal settings should be fine. We've got this. Oh, I see one thing I did wrong, and it's a good point. Is there's, of course, one side has a stitching line, one doesn't. Always make sure it's lined up the exact same way to the other one. It's something I don't think anyone would ever really notice if you didn't, but I'd notice. Not to say that I notice everything you're selling. I do make my mistakes, no doubt. Don't do that. He's got a mouthful of crackers and he's blowing crumbs. Okay, start here, and you want to line it up and try to follow your curve as best as you absolutely can. Let me put my needle back to center there. Okay, and it's going to want to shift some, so you want to hold it as nice and snug and flat as you can. If you have your extension table on, that can help. I like to use that, but sometimes when I'm doing coverings, I find it gets in my way too. Just kind of depends. But I'll hold the thread closer. Back stitch a little. Okay, there we go. And try to make sure you follow your curve really well, otherwise the shape of your broom will be off. One side will curve differently than the other, and you don't want that. Again, this walking foot helps so much to combat some of the shifting that these wants to do. It even still wants to do a little. It's just terrible for that. Now as I get real close, I'm going to pull that pin on out because I don't like to take the walking foot across the pin unless I absolutely have to. The walking foot for Bernina is not cheap. I was blessed my mom gave me mine, but I need to drop the needle down for a second. There, because that's a nice feature to have, the needle down. For when you gotta stop. Get it back up there. Pop the stitch. Okay. We've sewn around the brim. Fortunately, it sewed pretty evenly. The fabrics didn't shift. Can't tell you how many times they have shifted, and I have to take it back out. Okay, the next step, threads, of course. Okay, since we got a curve here, you want to clip. You always clip on your curves, whether they be inward curve or an outward curve. Otherwise, this will not lay nicely. Now, you don't have to clip along the straight part, just on the curve sides, and make sure you don't breach the stitching line, or it will show, and you'll have to restitch, or sometimes if you cut far enough, it can just be completely ruined. Now I usually go ahead and leave that extra up inside there because when I come back through and top stitch, it kind of anchors the ties in even further so that they're good and strong. What you can do is kind of put your finger in there and press against that seam to get that to go ahead and open up, and it will pin nicer for you. To go through and pin it in its open position, otherwise it will just not lay right, because we are going to top stitch it. you don't pin it, you want to roll your fabric between your fingers to make sure it's all the way up to that seam. Woo! That way you truly get the right size and shape in your top stitch and right to that seam. Oh, got a rub pin in there. And I imagine you notice I have a big sharp fold there for center. It helps you to line things up and stuff like that. When you're making coverings, if you fold your pieces in half and iron them, it kind of takes the place of having to make notches and things like that, because you always keep things lined to center. Okay. And there you have the pinning. I'm going to probably go ahead and cut the video again to break for the next segment.